Hello and welcome again to my show, Searching for Integrity. My name really is John Smith, and I'm searching for people with integrity. Why? Because our country suffers from IDD, Integrity Deficit Disorder. Today, we have as our guest Sylvia O'Connor, an author, and her book that she brought with her, I hope, Living the Abundant Life. I think I'll have some of that if I could make it happen. Anyway, I'll have you do more explaining than me. Are you ready? You're ready? So there's the book. Hold it up there. Great. I think that I was looking at what do you concentrate most on with respect to your book right now? Is there a concentration?
Yes. On never letting your past determine your future. If you want better, you can do better. It's always a journey. We want it to be a sprint, but your road to success is always a journey. My journey started in the South, growing up in a small town. I wanted a better life. I grew up poor, had a very lack of resources and opportunities, but I always knew that I would have hope and that I wouldn't remain poor. So after I graduated from high school, I was just kind of lost, not knowing what I wanted to do. But I had a role model in my aunt that would always come and visit us. And she lived in Detroit, Michigan. See, my mom and father did not graduate from high school. So that wasn't my fault. They did the best they could. They loved me, but we just never had enough resources. So my aunt always offered us to move to Detroit. She offered 3 of my siblings and they declined. So once I got out of high school, she asked me, did I want to come to Detroit? And I realized, again, I had nothing going for me career-wise. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So she sent me a one-way ticket to Detroit. And sometime to do better, you have to move out of your comfort zone. At the time, John, I had never been out of the state of Louisiana. So I cried all the way on that 2-day trip to Detroit, but it paid off. Today, I'm a successful businesswoman. I've given up a 30-year career in healthcare because it had become stagnant. I didn't enjoy going to work anymore. But instead of staying there complaining, blaming someone else for my unhappiness, when everyone was talking about the great resignation, I realized that it was time to go. I had a revelation that, you need to move on. You're not happy here. You're complaining all the time, coming home, complaining to my husband. So that's what I did. And I searched in my soul, what do you like to do? And people tell me that I love to talk. Say, you talk a lot. You always encouraging us. So I've always wanted to be a motivational speaker. So that's what I've been studying to do for the last 2 years. So I wrote the book about my life, hoping someone can just, gain some insight for it. Right. You set the bar for your life. Don't let anyone tell you what you can or cannot do. I ended up getting a master's degree. And I was an adjunct professor for 5 years. And I learned a lot in healthcare. But like I said, when it was time to move on, I moved on.
Home is home.
Yes.
I don't know that I'd do well if I moved to Michigan and Detroit. I don't know. I've visited there, and I didn't see the Detroit teams. We were just in and out pretty much. but it was interesting.
Yes.
I always try to
Any,
keep it.
yes. Any change you make in life will not be easy. I had to adjust to Detroit, coming from a southern town. I had to get used to the cold weather, snow, the people accent. They thought I had an accent, but they had an accent. So any change in life is not easy, but I wanted better. I didn't like growing up getting handouts. So when my aunt gave me an opportunity to help me, I took advantage of it.
That was a great choice.
Yes,
A fantastic choice.
yes,
I noticed here that you married a fellow named Johnny,
yes.
and I had to enjoy this, but I was known as Johnny until I was a sophomore in high school.
Okay,
And that's when we moved to Dallas from Oklahoma City.
okay.
And I was John Smith. I didn't want to be John Smith up in Oklahoma City. There was 4 John Smiths in my school.
So ironically, his name is Johnny, but when he was working, he was known as John.
There you go.
So, yes. So speaking of moving on, it's never too late for whatever you want in life. I moved on to a new career. And when I moved back from Detroit, Michigan to Louisiana, after I was getting a little older, I moved to a church, a bigger church,
Uh-huh.
and I met my husband. We were both volunteering as ushers, and he asked about me. And at the time, his brother thought he was talking about someone with the same name. So he said, no, I'm talking about Sylvia, the usher. So it's always good to be where you think you should be placed. And we became friends. And 2 years later, he asked me to marry him. And I said, yes. So you never know, John, what's on the other side of moving on.
That's right. That's right. That's a wonderful result of moving on. What else do you have?
I moved on from that poverty mindset. When I first graduated from college, I got into a lot of debt because I had the attitude, I grew up poor. And when I get some money, I'm going to buy whatever I want. But that has consequences. I had over 20 credit cards at one time.
Oh,
So
no.
even though I was working, doing well, I was living from paycheck to paycheck. So I had to learn how to handle money, get rid of that poverty mindset, because that doesn't get you anywhere but keep you in a frame of wanting more consumption.
Right.
So that's one of the chapters, overcoming a poverty mindset. It didn't happen overnight, but today I'm debt free, not bound by credit card debt.
Well, you should be happy about that. No doubt about it.
Yes, I am.
And what's
But
the
again,
second chapter?
the second chapter is finding positive role models. And as I stated,
Right.
my aunt would always come to visit us. She was a Christian lady. She always talked about God. And she was like, you guys need to go to church and, worship God. I didn't understand it real well when I was little. But once I moved with her, I started going to church, learning a lot. And later I moved to another church, and the pastor always talked about not only God, but God's blessing and provision for your life. And that's what I kind of discovered. Well, you know what? A lot of people helped us when we were poor. So I realized I wanted to be like a minister of helps, to help others when they need help. Because there were organizations that came to our rescue. Different organizations would give us food and clothes. So that's what I wanted to do when I got out of debt. And that's what I like doing now.
Well, that's quite a story.
Yes.
I was given the opportunity to listen to my football coach in high school.
Mhm.
And he basically gave me what you were just talking about there in terms of what it's got to be. It's got to be good integrity. There you go. So he's not with us now, but he's just still looking over my shoulder.
Yes. Well, integrity is key. I listened to your TED Talk and I just got the book today, but integrity is very important. I worked on a job for 30 years and, everyone wants to write a book about how to engage your employees, how to get more out of your employees, but no one talks about integrity, how to do the right thing. So one of the chapters is always be true to what you know is right. I became a whistleblower in healthcare years ago, and I reported healthcare fraud and won a large reward. So it wasn't easy because you can be retaliated against, but it's always do the right thing when no one is looking, because like they say, what you do in the dark, it's always going to come to the light.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What was it like being a whistleblower?
Well, at first it's filed on the seal, and once later you will be exposed who blew the whistle, but it was worth it, because had I not done that, I may have still been in the same job, looking at people doing wrong and not reporting it. So if I had to do it all over again, I would. I learned a lot from it, but it's just always good to do the right thing, because I could have been caught up in that. I was working in an area where I was exposed to what was going on. And I did some research by me being a college professor, and I reported the fraud and won a nice reward. So you never know how you'll be rewarded in life.
True.
Yes.
But what you did, you pretty much are admired by others just for that.
Yes.
People look and say, well, those people, yeah. That's not true.
Right.
People have to be honest, and they have
Right.
to help others. At least from my standpoint, it is.
That's true.
What's next?
Well, one of the chapters is know when to move on. A lot of times we stay beyond our expiration date. When you buy a food product, sometimes it tells you best used by this date. But once something expires, or you're serving something that's no longer serving you, it's time to go. And it never really have to be, John, a love-hate relationship. It's just time to move on. I've moved on from friends, churches, and I've always done better. You should embrace moving on. Again, you don't never know what's on the other side. It could be your blessing, your spouse, a new outlook on life. So know when it's time to move on.
Well, that was a great choice.
Yes.
Embracing the Abyss. That's my book.
Yes, I can't wait to read it.
That's great.
Yes, you always learn something new.
Well, hope to. Sometimes you don't, but most times you do.
Yes.
And not to be frustrated.
Yes.
But, so what's next? This is like turn the page.
It's give back and pay it forward. That's always a good thing. I mentioned I never forgot some of the organizations. So I embrace a lot of organizations, whether it's the Salvation Army, it's a lot of homeless people out there. And my growing up poor, I had to think about gratitude, because at that time, kids were being taken away from their parents because they couldn't take care of them. So I was grateful that, my mother and father, they did the best they could, but we were just poor. So I always give back now I love giving the kids organization, the homeless shelters. So never forget where you come from. Always give back.
Those are the same charities that I keep my thumb on. And it reminds me, we just recently moved, and all my stuff is in, you wouldn't believe, boxes.
Oh, yes.
So once I find it, I'm going to send them some more money.
Yes.
I always
That's what
have.
I do. Try to get on a schedule because sometimes, people get excited around the Christmas time. So one of the organizations, they have a feed the homeless during the summer. So I try to get
Sure.
on a schedule several times a year. Don't forget about them because again, they were very faithful to us when we were growing up.
Right, right. You don't forget that kind of growing up either.
Right. You don't.
Yeah.
And a big one, which sometimes people are afraid to do because I was like that, is ask for help. When I realized it wasn't a lot going on for me, and when my aunt would come to visit, my sisters turned her down, and I did ask her about moving to Detroit, and she kept on me. She said, "You sure you want to move to Detroit?" And I said, yes. Once she sent that one-way ticket, I did not look back. I stayed there for 30 years. So always ask for help. Don't be afraid. You got to ask the right people, but ask for help.
Now, 30 years in Detroit, is that part of it?
Yes,
Wow, that's
I was,
that's admirable right there.
yes, yes. And once I started getting a little older, I decided it was time to move on back to Louisiana. My mother had passed. I wanted to be closer to my family. So I moved back several years ago. And as I stated, I met my spouse, met some new friends. So you just, don't be afraid to make a change when you need to.
Right, right. Very much so.
Yes.
What's next? I can't wait.
Yes. How to get wealthy.
Whoa, how to get wealthy. Okay.
Yes. Well, wealthy, that's a big word. It means different things to different people. It's not a certain amount of money, but again, I got out of debt by studying debt, being in the right place at the right time, doing what was right. And when I did get some finances, I learned how to take care of it, not to squander it and be back to square one. And I remembered when I did get the breakthrough to learn about it so people wouldn't take advantage of me. You can give, but you have to give to the right things, to the right cause, because people will drain you and then you could be back to square one. You would be the one in need. So I asked God to give me wisdom when I donate to different places. Of course, I give to my local church and support that. But
Mhm.
Obtaining wealth, you must learn about wealth so it won't be squandered. You hear of athletes, movie stars going
Right.
from millionaires to homeless. And I can see how it happened if you don't get educated on things that you need to.
Well, that's one of the things that if you don't keep your finger on that, because it will move, and then you
Yes.
might not get the results that you wanted to.
Yes.
It's also a matter of judgment of character. I think
Yes.
that you have to do your best in judging someone in terms if it's going to involve you.
And that's true.
Mhm,
That's
it
true.
is. Yeah.
But mainly get an understanding. One scripture comes to mind is with all you're getting, wisdom is key, and get an understanding. We must understand about finances because it could get away from you. Everybody want to be wealthy, but do they know how to handle wealth or money if they got a lot of money?
Right. Well, it's something that you have to do once upon a time to get
Yes.
your straight down a crooked highway, I guess is the way to put it.
Yes. Yes. That is so true.
Yeah.
And so basically that's it. It's never too late for dreams to come true. Oh, one I forgot was earlier, I kind of mentioned on it, get educated. It doesn't
Sure.
have to be formal education, but a lot of people feel hopeless. If you made a mistake, now there's people saying, well, I made a mistake. I can't do this. I can't do that. But get educated, get a skilled trade. I'm interested in working with college students and,
Right.
stick with something. I had some setbacks in college, but I stuck with it and I set a goal that I was going to come out there with a degree that I could use. So always try to get educated on whatever it is in life, to get you a job so you can take care of yourself and you don't have to depend on the government or other people taking care of you all the time. It's okay. We all need help at one point, but the more educated you are, you set the bar higher to what you can do and not let society say, oh, you can never have this. You can't live in that house. You can't do this and that. But I very much value my education.
How true, how true.
Yes.
I got out of the Army and went straight into summer school.
Okay.
And 3 years later, I graduated and became a CPA.
That's great. Well, when I won my money, that's the first thing the lawyers told me that I would never forget. You need to get an accountant, a CPA. And that's what I did. That's my best friend.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's great. Even better to have the best one. Sure.
Yes. Yes.
Something you don't want to, well, you have to practice, I guess. I mean, you always have faith in those people. That's the reason
Yes.
you engage them in the first place.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, how about church these days? Do you have, I know that, I grew up in the Church of Christ, and which is a lot like Baptists.
Yes.
And I know that there weren't any females in being preachers.
Right.
And you said something about a get together, something about what am I stumbling on here? It was, I thought I took it that way, knowing you can't go be a preacher, so you'll be one of these people.
Oh, the ministry of helps. Yes, we had
Yes.
preachers in the church that I went to after I moved out of my aunt's house, and he taught about all of the different ministries. It's a lot of women in the organization that I was in, and I realized that there's a ministry of helps, and that's what you do, help when people need help, but you want to be able to rightly divide the word and discern when someone is trying to take advantage of you. So I went to Bible school for 1 year. I was able to go when I was working. It was every Monday night. I did an internship at the nursing home. And during the holidays, when I was single at that time, I would always go to the alcohol and drug abuse rehab. And that was very rewarding because, again, you never know what situation you could have been in or, any of us. So I really enjoyed doing that, ministering to people. And that's why I have a heart for people, because like I say, it wasn't my fault because I was poor. Some life throws things at you and you just have to deal with it, learn from it, and move on.
Did you find much counseling in the group?
Yes, found a lot of the group counseling. They would counsel when we would go places like the shelters. They would talk to the people, different ministers. We would give out Bibles, not only feed them, but there were a lot of success stories. A lot, the same people were there when we would come back. But even if some get out, you're never going to reach everybody. But I just really enjoyed doing that, and it was a great service.
Well, I can tell just as you speak, you've got a knack for that.
Yes. Yes.
And I wanted to ask you, was it difficult in terms of times of this COVID that we had pushed onto us for the last couple of years? Did that give away or make it difficult to speak to people?
It was difficult, but it was a lot of virtual events going on. And I really got involved with that, learned so much, so many great virtual speakers. And I still was able to give online and learn a lot of things. COVID, it made us take a detour, but that's when I got my breakthrough. Like, I wasn't going back to that job. I needed to do something else. And as I stated, instead of talking about it, remaining bitter, the Lord let me know it's time to move on. I got something else for you to do. And you just have to step out on faith and can't, we worry about what if things doesn't go right? Well, what if they do go right? We'll never know if we remain in our comfort zone.
Well, you're exactly right. It's something that's, if you have the opportunity and you're blessed with the go to do it, then you'll have a wonderful life in terms of doing that. You'll get to do that more than you ever thought.
Yes, I agree that is true. You don't give up. Life is not easy. We're going to have challenges, going to have things that go wrong. People don't treat us right, but we have to get beyond all of that and just go for it, to want to do better, leave the bitterness behind, the negativity. That was kind of in my conclusion when I had to let people go. People were like, were they really your friends? Yes, but it was time to let them go because I was on a different road. When I was going to move back to Louisiana, people were so negative. Why are you moving back to the South? It's this going on, this and that. But you know what you're called to do, what you desire to do, and you can't let anyone talk you down because it's your decision in the long run.
Well, you're doing very well at that. And I'm sure that as you talk about it, you'll have others do just as well as you in those regards. Well, I'm going to ask you to look at your books and where they are and where my listeners need to find out.
The title of my book is Living the Abundant Life, 9 Principles to Move from Poverty to Prosperity. It can be found on Amazon, Goodreads, Ingram Spark, Target, Walmart, and one more. But that's it.
How did you do on the Walmart and Target, the others? Was that something that came?
It's a longer process. They did,
Right.
I filled out a form and I haven't heard back from them, but I'm getting rewards from Amazon. After a while, they show you how many books you're sold, but I'm doing good. The book has only been out 3 months.
Whoa, only 3. That's good. Very good.
Yes.
Very good. Well, I want to thank you very much for Sylvia to up straight and be nice to people and the things we don't think about. I know for me, my listeners are tuning in today, searching for integrity, and I have an adios. So long and happy trails.
Well, thank you so much, John. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Sylvia.